Do you ever wonder what pro triathletes eat, how much they sleep, or even how they got there? Well, I was lucky enough to interview one of USA's newest pro triathletes and how they got there. Corinne Mao is one of the newest pro triathletes in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. Listen to her amazing and interesting story of how she got here today in the world of triathlon.
Welcome to the Beyond Physio podcast. I'm Dr. Jerry Yu, CEO and founder of Next Level Physio. My co-host is Dr. John Mendenhall II, and we have the privilege of interviewing today Corinne Mao, who is a recently inducted pro triathlete. And we want to hear and share all about her journey to get to this point and what life has been like as a college student, now graduating, and now entering the professional triathlon world as well as the professional world. Corinne, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So my first question is, Corinne, tell us about your journey of how you got to where you are right now in the world of triathlon.
So I started doing triathlons probably 7 years ago. I was competitively swimming in high school, and once my mom started doing them, I was probably like a freshman or a sophomore at the time. She started doing races, so I started picking them up, doing them with her. And then when I got to college, I joined NC State's club team and continued on from there and just worked my way up.
Wow, that's cool. So basically, it sounds like your mom was your inspiration to get to this point.
Yes, very much so. Additionally, she's the reason I've started going into longer distance. We did our first 70.3 together and our first 140.6 together.
Really? Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And when she got you into it, was it sprints? Was it an Olympics? Did you do the swim part? Did you do the whole thing? Like, what was it like, the first triathlon that you did?
We did a bunch of sprints. So she was on an all-women's team in South Jersey, and they put on a sprint race for them. And I would do that with her. And then after like a year or two, I worked my way into Olympics. And then probably 3 years into it, I did my first 70.3.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's pretty awesome.
Now, it's funny, you had mentioned, because we are all Jersey transplants here on this episode. And by the way, this is episode 40, so it's a milestone for us. So Corinne is starting the milestone of podcasts. But tell us about, how did you decide to come down to NC State versus staying in New Jersey for college?
I kind of knew I wanted to get out of New Jersey the whole time. My brother got out, and he was a big inspiration for me to get out because I couldn't stay if he wasn't staying. But I looked into a bunch of the big name engineering schools because I knew I wanted to do engineering. And I ended up liking Raleigh. It's a good mix. It's got mountains, it's got beaches. It's a good area, not too much of a city, but a little bit of a city. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Where I went.
And so it sounds like based on your professional career, you're going to stay in the Raleigh area too.
Yeah, that was a big determining factor. When I graduated, I was like, I know I want to stay within the Triangle region. I was open to Durham, I was open to Chapel Hill, but I wanted to stay right here mostly.
That's cool.
Nice.
So from there, how did you get to the level that you're at? Where did you have coaching along the way? Did you sort of like figure things out to get to this elite level and then pro card, or how'd that start?
I did my own coaching for quite a bit.
Wow.
When I did Ironman Maryland in 2021, I was self-coached all the way through. From that point, when I took my pro card, my world slot, I knew I wanted to get a coach so I could like really perform well because I'm on such a big stage. And luckily, I had one of my good friends who used to coach the club run team volunteered to do my coaching, so he coaches me for free, and it's really good because we have a friendly coaching relationship where I can give him direct feedback and I don't feel like I'm criticizing him at all, but he also helps me a lot because he'll push me past what I would normally push myself.
That's awesome. I had been coached by Dr. John at one point, and I'll just say that I think I gave him a lot more humor in my training sessions than anything. But it's important, I think you would agree, that you have to find that right coach who you can align with and gel with. Otherwise, it becomes sort of drudgery for both of you.
Yeah. You definitely want to have someone who you can communicate with, but also they know how to push you and when to push you, but also when to tone it down.
Yeah.
So you had like the swimming background. Which one is the most difficult sport for you in particular? Swimming, biking, or running?
Definitely biking. I'm actually a better runner than I am swimmer now.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I think it's from, I did run club for a little bit at NC State as well, and I trained with some of the girls. One of them actually went to Colorado School of Mines to go D2 after she graduated.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I think running with people of such a high caliber helped me a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, because I was just gonna piggyback off that and say, are the cycling workouts like the really grueling, strenuous ones that you probably didn't program for yourself before that you're getting from the coach right now, or is it the running and swimming that are a little bit different too than what you had before?
So he did coach me in running because he
Yeah.
coached the club.
Mhm.
So I knew his workouts from the start, but I will say the cycling workouts are probably the easiest mentally to overcome because I do have a smart trainer. So when you plug in what you plug in,
That's
if you're
true.
hitting a certain wattage, the trainer will make you hit that certain wattage.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to push through that mentally, but it was the biggest improvement I've had since getting a coach
Okay.
because I wouldn't do that prior.
Yeah.
And it is the biggest part of the triathlon, so
Sadly, yes.
so it works out.
That's cool. Now, we've had some athletes among us, John has coached, I've seen as patients, who had some setback along the training to get to where they wanted to be. We've come across injuries, we've come across people where just life didn't work out.
Mhm.
You have a very interesting setback, and I want you to share that with our audience.
Yeah, so this past summer before this, I took an internship in Richmond where I was working full time. And because I was in a new city, new place, I took a random roommate to save money. And I ended up having to live with not one, not two, but 4 puppies with a roommate who was barely there. She was gone all the time. She asked me to feed the dogs almost every day. And on top of that, living with 4 puppies with a girl that's rarely there, I had puppies running around everywhere. I wasn't really
Yeah.
recovering because I didn't really want to be around all the puppies and all the mess that was the apartment. I was gone from like 6 in the morning till like 8 at night. I was eating like fast food. I was eating Chipotle. I was eating Trader Joe's microwave meals. I was not getting good nutrition. I wasn't sleeping well because we had puppies in the place.
Yeah.
And it was just like a catastrophe.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, Corinne, because a lot of people, a lot of athletes in general, negate the effects of sleep on recovery and performance. And you are, telling us that when you don't sleep, you can't perform, and when you don't eat right, you can't perform either. So it's a great story of how those things are real life examples of when people don't consider those part of their training, they can't maximize their performance.
Yeah. Is there a certain amount of time that you're trying to get with sleep, or any naps that you have to take to make up for some of that sleep?
I do try to hit 8 hours, try to be in bed by 10, wake up 6, even later if I need to. But I try to get 8 hours. If I can get more in, I will try to get more in. I've gotten 9, I've gotten 10. I prefer to get more sleep than not enough sleep. I used to take naps in my car while I was working. So during my lunch break, I would go out to the car, take a power nap, and then come back.
Wow, that's
So,
smart.
I do highly enjoy my sleep.
Yes, that's awesome.
Smart. Best way to recover.
Yeah, I think Katie was talking about that, right?
Yeah. So were you at
Katie
the
Harris?
Katie Safiras thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was just like, biggest thing that she can do is sleep.
Yeah.
Because
Crazy.
everyone can train, but if you don't let your body recover, then it's likely going to get injured. So
Yeah.
sleep is just a really big part of her training, from what she said anyway.
Yeah, when I was back in Richmond, I could tell just not getting enough quality sleep. I couldn't translate that at all to quality workouts. I like to get up and do my hardest workouts in the morning.
Yeah.
And when I was in Richmond, I would be 10, 30 seconds off my pace of what I should be hitting. And I knew it was directly correlated to not
Just because
sleeping
not
the
sleeping.
night before.
Yeah, I think that would be a big takeaway for someone to like realize how important sleep is. They just try it for a week, like sleep 8 hours for the entire week, and then see what happens. See what
Yeah.
happens at work. See what happens in your training, and how well that's gonna translate.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, cool. We know that physical sports can be growing, and triathlon, of course. Is there anything that you use as visualization or something where you're able to keep that level of focus for the longer races, Corinne, that might be helpful for the audience?
When I'm trying to, especially for longer races, like tune in on being able to focus the whole time. One, I like to do my training as much as possible without music. During a race, you're not allowed to have music at all. So if I can go without music, I'll do that. I also like to visualize certain components, so I like to do longer warm-ups, longer cool down. So when I'm racing, I'm like, the first 30 minutes is just warming up, the last 30 minutes is just cooling down before the next part, and then breaking it up in sections, especially at Kona when you know you have that massive climb in the middle of the race. I wasn't trying to think about that at all until I got there, and then I was like, it's only this long, I only have to get there, and then you get the long downhill.
Yeah. Now, the wind seems to be a big part of Kona, and you just went this past year, correct?
Yes.
How was the wind that day on the race?
You don't really notice it a whole ton until you're coming down the mountain.
Oh.
Yeah.
And when you're coming down, you can feel it. It's both crosswind and gusts at the same time. So it was a lot of just like mentally just trying to keep myself in balance. You don't have to work all that hard. You just worked up a massive hill. You can take a little bit of a break to save yourself for the rest of the race, and just don't let the wind get to you too much. It is a little scary, but
yeah, I gotcha.
It was not as bad as you would expect.
Gotcha. Okay. And you qualified for Kona after your first Ironman, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now walk us through the difference between that first Ironman experience and then your second Ironman experience being at a World Championships.
So when I signed up for my first Ironman, I did it because my mom signed up for her first Ironman and I couldn't let her beat me to it. She signed up, and when she told me, like, within a week, I signed up to do it as well. So I went in with very low goals. I just wanted to finish the race. Granted, I'm pretty competitive, and at this point I've been pretty fast. So I just wanted to up my training to do well, but also finish the race. So I didn't really have the goal of qualifying for Worlds during it, but I happened to win my age group, which was pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
And at the time, with like the people I knew and everyone, when I mentioned like, oh, I won my age group, they were like, you have to take the slot. It's so hard to take a slot. If you don't take it, you don't know when you'll get a slot again. So I was like, sure, I'll take it. We'll see what happens.
So casual. Oh my gosh.
Really go in with the goal of it, but so I took the slot, and that's also when I decided I needed to get a coach, because I was like, the first one I just wanted to finish. This one, now I'm on a world stage. But the second one, I will say, so that was after I lived in Richmond, and I had about 2 months to like re-get my training back in place, and it did not go as well as I would have wanted it to. Not only was there more pressure because now I'm on a world stage, and I was like, I'm competing against the best and the best. I might lose. I might be the last one in my age group. I honestly cried on the shuttle to Kona.
You did?
Yeah, race morning. I was so nervous of like competing against like the best of the best that I like was in tears. It ended up being okay. I finished 14th, so about middle of the pack of my age group. So, but just the nerves and the pressure of it was completely different between my first and my second one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, do you have any strategies now to help with that, like nerves before a race? Maybe not put that pressure on you at a world stage or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so before I went into Worlds, I didn't have like any strategy of what I wanted to do race morning. I would lay out my clothes and all that, like remove any extra stress that I could race morning. But after dealing with the nerves and seeing all of that affect my race, I went in and started doing different strategies. So one of them is laying out your clothes, but another one is like journaling the night before, and also just realizing one race isn't going to make or break your career. So when I started actively working towards my pro card this year, night before I would write out what I wanted to happen in the race, write out everything that I could control, write out everything I couldn't control. That way, going into the race, I knew what I could do and what I couldn't do, and not stress about things that I don't need to stress about.
Yeah. That's really smart. I know a lot of people do visualization, and I encourage that with anyone that I work with. Because if you can visualize yourself, and you're some people that are really stressed about going in the water and swimming next to people, if you can just visualize going in the water, feeling comfortable, putting your head under and swimming, it's a lot better than getting there in the moment and then getting all worked up before the actual gun goes off, so to say. Yeah.
That's cool. You know, Corinne, I have to say, I don't meet many young people who have that kind of drive. So it is actually really refreshing
Yeah.
to meet someone like yourself who already has that level of focus. Sounds like from a younger age all the way to where you are now. I'm sure that's going to carry you very far in life too, which is pretty cool. As far as like things that you do off season or things to balance out what you do for triathlon, Corinne, can you share with our audience like what things you do to either take a break from triathlon or to train as a cross training element to triathlon?
Yeah, so during the summer mostly I'll mountain bike and I'll hike, so get outside while I can, but not directly do the sport. In the winter, I like to rock climb. I've got a lot of friends that rock climb, so it's a great way to keep community going while also working on like some physical strength without doing direct strength components.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Make it a little more fun.
It's a little more fun and a little less tedious because if you go to the gym and lift weights, you're like alone and doing your own thing. But if you're rock climbing with friends, like you've got the community aspect.
Yeah.
Now, in climbing, do you prefer bouldering over top rope, or what's your thing?
I almost only boulder. A lot of my friends love top rope, but I have a fear of heights. So I will only top rope at the short walls at Morseville.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
Nice.
Awesome. So, other question we have is now everyone's got their favorite foods and stuff like this. They have their list of things that they want to eat and whatnot, either during training or during racing. Corinne, we're going to actually come up with this Mao Chow list. And what you're going to do is walk us through a couple of things that you like to eat for either comfort foods, in training foods, and race foods.
So race food specifically on the bike, I really like Pop-Tarts, blueberry Pop-Tarts in particular.
I like that anyway.
I've also heard that, I'm not sure how true this is, but they're the most easily digestible carbs
Really?
while exercising. So I took that and ran. I love blueberry Pop-Tarts. While I'm running, I'll go with Swedish Fish. It's very similar to gels, but it's sugar and it's something from childhood.
Yeah.
So that while I'm training, I like to reward myself with the Wegmans muffins, especially the French vanilla ones.
I like those.
That is a little bit of being from New Jersey, loving the Wegmans muffins.
Yes. That's awesome.
That sounds pretty great.
Any post-race comfort foods that you have for yourself, Corinne?
I do like smoothies or milkshakes or something that's like easy to digest, easy on the stomach, and just like straight sweet.
Yeah.
Because do you find yourself hungry after a race? Because whenever I race, it's like I'm not
the last thing I do is eat, right?
not ready to eat, and then it's like a couple hours later that I'm starving.
Yeah, I have the same thing. My stomach shuts down while I'm racing, so it's like I'll take the gels while I'm racing, but I don't want to eat any food when I finish. So having the like milkshakes and the smoothies are easy to digest, and also they don't make me want to throw up.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever had a bad experience during a race where your gut just said like,
During Kona.
Oh no!
Lost 6 pounds body weight because they weigh you in the day before, and so I didn't really take my nutrition very well on the bike. So when I got to the run, my stomach was already starting to shut down. So I took 2 gels, but I was supposed to take 6.
Oh my gosh.
So the last 4 miles, I was just drinking calories, but I was drinking way too much, and I ended up throwing up a ton.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Oh gosh.
Oh my god!
Brutal.
Plus your nerves that day too. I'm sure it didn't help.
Yeah, no, and the best part was, so the New York Times did an article on college students at Kona, and the photographer came up to me at the end of the race, and I had just previously been throwing up in a trash can from drinking too many liquids, and I was laying on the floor, and she was like, "This is a good picture with your medal," and she took it, and it's in the New York Times.
Wow. Okay.
We have to find that.
Directly after throwing up.
That's going to be the thumbnail.
That'll be a thumbnail for this. So it sounds like you have a great community of people, no matter where you're at, whether you're training for tri or whether you're doing stuff that's not related. How important do you think community is for someone who's at that level of athleticism like yourself?
It's extremely important for me. It's much easier to train with people than it is alone. I try to do as much as possible with people. On top of that, I like to be on teams because then it's not racing for just myself, it's racing for someone else. So when I'm hurting, it's like, oh, I'm representing either NC State or iOS Elite or another team, and I'm like, I'm representing them, so I have to push through. On top of that, community is almost insanely important because I use Strava, and the public aspect will get me through a lot of my workouts and a lot of my races. I've actually posted to Strava every single day for the past, I want to say 5 years now, except for the 2 days after Kona.
Wow.
So
Good recovery.
a lot of people will keep tabs on me based off of if I've posted on Strava or not that day. And sometimes I'll wait too long and I'll get a text of, "Hey, are you okay?" So there's a lot of pressure, not pressure, but the community is important because it keeps me going, and it's just a little extra oomph to get me there.
I love that. You know, it's funny because Next Level, our core tenet is building community with like-minded people who are on their way to the next level.
Mhm.
And it sounds like you are exactly aligned with that sort of philosophy for yourself. And it's gotten you very far. And I have no doubt that it's going to continue to help you develop even more as an athlete and have more success to you in the future.
Yeah, so we want to thank you very much for being here and talking with us and telling us about your journey. I do want to ask, so when you go professional, do you have like a USA kit, like with your name on the back and stuff like that?
Honestly, I just got my pro card like less than a month ago. Actually, I think it's actually a month ago from today I got my pro card. I haven't really looked into it a whole ton.
Okay. All
I've
right.
started looking at races, but I would like to get one if I could.
Yeah.
It'd like be nice to represent USA.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So badass too.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Last question for any young people out there who are listening, or parents of younger people who might have kids with that kind of potential to get into that upper level of triathlon. Do you have any advice for the parents on how to coach their kids to get to that level?
The biggest thing is I wouldn't force my kid to do it, but put them in a spot where they can find the community to do it. My parents never forced me into swimming or running or even cycling. They just, here's swim team. If you like it, you can stick with it. If not, you can quit. And then get that community from a young age, have the friends that'll be there and be the reason you want to go back.
You know, I love that because we did some episodes in the past about the opposite side, Corinne, where the parents who might be overbearing on their kids and have their kids in all these different sports for too long, and the unfortunate side effects of that too, physically, emotionally, mentally. And so it sounds like your parents actually had a really great view of how they were going to help you sort of figure out what it was for you that was going to work, and that's pretty awesome too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Anything else you want to share, Corinne, before we end our show today?
No.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a guest today. And for all of our audience out there, we hope this episode was helpful for anyone who is in triathlon and looking to get ahead. We also know that for anyone who might have a child in their household who might have some interest in triathlon, there are many pathways to do that. And one of the better ways to do that might be to help them find the right community so they can find their way into the sport. So until next time, thank you again for coming on our podcast, Corinne. And for everyone out there, have a great day.
If you liked this video and always wondered what to eat during or before your 70.3 race, then watch this video.